Jesus tits. Hello everyone, my name is Deckerlink the Trained Unprofessional, and welcome back to mic test. I forgot to do that shit. You might have noticed the new avatar. The avatar. That was done by Shirokoi. I got a commission slot for him, and he gave me a hell of a discount. So, get cheap ass shit, and it is good. So I'm going to be using that, and I'm also going to be getting the artist who did the original Jack drawing to do a human version for when I play human games as opposed to the furry games, because I'm tired of being a one-trick pony! So today we're going to be playing Echo. I got an email while I was at work saying that they put out a two-pronged update. Apparently some for Leo, some for Flynn. So we're going to start with Leo. Oh yeah, this was the cliffhanger. This was the one where we got fucking pulled back by a mysterious being into the woods. My God, Maggle. We're gonna see who the fuck it was now. Well, not exactly now, because we gotta actually get to the shit, but we're going to get on the road to El Dorado, aka the shit.
On the trail we bleed!
On the trail we bleed! On the trail! Soundtrack for El Dorado is done by Creed.
I'm fucking not Creed. I love Creed.
I love Creed too, but he sounds like he's drowning. I know who it is immediately. The smell is unmistakable. Is it Brian like we suspected? Then the high-pitched voice cursing as he drags me along through the brush. Chase! Kazu's scream seems like it's only a few yards away. He's gonna catch up to us and then... I don't know what. I tried to fight Brian off. I knew it was motherfucking Brian. We shot him in the face! And he's still coming at us! Dude is a fucking machine! Try to fight Brian off, I guess. But just as I'm thinking that, Brian picks me up off the ground and practically throws me.
Fuck, he reads minds.
Yeah, he reads minds and he's been shot in the face. This is the Terminator now. This ain't Michael Myers.
Even Spoof was like, oh shit. It's okay, buddy. He's gonna make it.
And the next thing I know, my head is throbbing as the back of it knocks against something hard. My legs are all splayed upwards, my foot pads pressed against something smooth and cool. He threw us in the back of a truck, probably. I hear more cursing and the sound of snarling. Kazu? And then I hear the sound of a car door slam, and I realize I'm in a truck. And my feet pressed against the windshield. Brian's massive bulk squeezes in next to me, and I feel the truck accelerate. The backside wobbles back and forth in the sand as it tries to find purchase in the ground. But then we find the road, and I'm pressed back in the seat as Brian steps hard on the gas. I scramble upright into a seated position, pressing back as far as I can against the door away from Brian. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to me right now, with his eyes fixed on the road. My heart hammers in my chest. I can't even start to comprehend what's just happened to me. Yo. Playing one of my favorite games. Spoof was fine. Start playing. Goes apeshit. He's been fed.
Because I'm not here.
He's been fed, he's been given food and water. That's what feeding him means. He's been outside, so he doesn't need to potty. He's just fucking he's an attention whore. Is this real? Am I dreaming? How did I end up fucking things up so badly again? Brian takes a hard turn and I almost tumble into him. Ugh. In a panic, I kick my feet against his side, keeping myself upright and against the door. The big bear grunts and glances at me before fixing his eyes back on the road. I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I try to hold it onto the chair to keep from falling over. I realize then that Brian must have been waiting for me, waiting outside Kudzu's trailer for a perfect moment to grab me. I'd given it to him by idiotically skipping outside to take a piss, the result of which I can smell wafting up from my pants. I don't care though, everything is numb right now and my mind is racing, trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of this. My paw automatically reaches back to pull on the door handle. It's locked. My paw feels along the door looking for the lock. My fingers pass over a small hole where I assume it should be, but it's smooth. It's like the little nub for the pop-up lock is missing, or it's been cut off. Swallowing hard, I keep searching and my fingers come across the window crank handle. I tentatively start to roll it down, but it's clear that I haven't thought ahead as Brian immediately notices the drafty air. He lunges at me, one hand still on the wheel. I scream and dodge out of the way, falling into the footwell as I try to escape his massive paws. He doesn't grab me, instead reaching for the handle and rolling the window back up. The truck swerves back and forth as he does, and for a moment I'm sure he's about to roll the whole thing with how fast we're going. He finally sits upright again. Oh shit. Do that again and I'll knock you out! And he still doesn't look at me. It's only then that I notice the stark difference his demeanor has now compared to the first few times I'd seen him. There's no lust, no animalistic drive to fuck everything around him. Instead, there's a sort of desperation about him. I see his eyes dart around in the glow of the headlights, the fur all over his face matted down from sweat. I sit there in the footwell staring up at him, gripping onto the seat as my head knocks back against the glove compartment. After a few minutes of erratic driving and swerving, I gather my wits enough to speak. What are you doing? Brian's eyes flick down towards me, then back up to the road before he shakes his head. He does it slowly, like he can't believe something. But he doesn't say anything, at least not for a while. Then after what could have been anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes, he speaks. Can you tell me the truth, boy? I sit there quietly, contemplating making a jump for this door, to open it and tumble out into the desert. If I wasn't injured badly enough, or if I even survived for that matter, maybe I could make a run for it. What truth? What's going on in this town? Oh my god. I squeeze my eyes shut and let my forehead thump against the seat. But only for a moment, since I want to be able to keep an eye on Brian. I already told Duke I have no fucking clue. You were there. Brian grunts as he continues to stare out of the windshield, clearly thinking about something. I can't help you or anyone here, Brian. I'm trying to find a way out. That gives me an idea. Wait, I might know a way to get out of here. If you let me go, I'll tell you. As soon as that comes out of my mouth, I wonder if I've made a mistake. Brian doesn't need to let me go to get me to tell him what he wants. I'm alone here with him, and he can do whatever he wants to me. And I'd probably tell him whatever he wanted to hear. But he surprises me with what he says next. Escaping isn't gonna fix any of this. We're all still gonna see the same shit. I wait, but he stays quiet. It takes me another minute to work up the courage to ask. See what? You know exactly what! He screeches at me in his high-pitched voice that the truck swerves precariously. I can imagine the tires sliding off the road for a moment before Brian corrects it. You know exactly what I'm talking about! I will shoot you, motherfucker! Sorry. Y'all ain't gonna get that. Y'all ain't gonna get that. He says more gently, taking deep breaths.
Did you put your name in the document?
Taking deep breaths to calm himself. Then he looks down at me. Don't you? I swallow hard, wanting to find the right answer, but unsure of what that might be. Like when Duke saw something on the ceiling in the diner? That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's something that Brian saw with me. He lets out a cold guffaw. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Otter. That and every fucking thing else. The truck takes another hard turn and I brace myself into the little well. The swerves and turns are becoming more frequent. I can't really see out the window, but I'm pretty sure we're headed into the mountains. Was that creature thing going to attack us? Should I warn Brian? Oh, yeah! Thing fucking launched your car from the road into the lake. You think that's worth a note? But we've all been seeing shit for a long time, even before this crazier shit started a few days back. Brian glances down at me once again. Had you seen stuff around here? My mind immediately thinks back to when I was a kid. I'd seen plenty of things, plenty of horrible things. But the psychiatrist had said that was normal, that sometimes kids hallucinate. I notice that Brian's not wearing his seatbelt, and I start to toy with the idea of grabbing the wheel. Again, I might be killed. It would at least stop Brian from taking me to wherever it is he's taking me. It might even be better to die. Maybe. But my parents, my friends, they haven't really seen stuff. Except Jenna, and now TJ and Carl after all this started. Brian grins with his crooked and missing teeth. Seems we only see shit if there's a reason to. I don't know what it is either, but from what I've seen, it's a combination of a shitty experience and being an echo. The truck is slowing down a little now as we start taking sharper turns. Brian's calmed down at least, but it also means that we're definitely deep in the mountains at this point, the road having turned to gravel. When I was a kid in Peyton, I didn't see shit, even though I had a pretty fucked up childhood. My mom left me when I was 6 because my dad was a piece of shit. But you know she's a piece of shit for leaving me with him. Anyway, you know where Mom and Dad told me she'd gone? I don't say anything until Brian looks back down at me expectantly. Where? Brian cackles and sends a chill up my spine. That aliens are taking her. I press myself deeper into the well, wishing I could just disappear into the floor. I think he must have been drunk or high, or both. Drunk and high on the same time on an airplane doing something crazy. But it stuck with me, you know? I nod, trying to keep the bear happy as he drives along a road so curvy it seems impossible in my mind. Then, I was a teenager in 87 or so, I got myself a boyfriend. More of a fuck buddy, we kinda hated each other. He talked too much, but he was a good fuck, and the only faggot I knew. God damn it. Jesus Christ, it's a line! It's in the fucking... Damn it! So I came here every other week or so to fuck him. Then something weird happened on my second or third trip out here. I remember the moon was red that night because of the forest fires out west. And I kept looking at it, and that's when I saw a flying saucer. Like one straight out of a cartoon with lights and a dome thing on top. I couldn't believe it, but there was it fucking was floating through the sky, and you know, even though it looked stupid as fuck, I knew. Brian takes a big wide turn and the truck slows more and more until it comes to a rumbling halt. My ears ring in the silence as Brian continues to stare out into the night, the headlights lighting up his face. It knew I saw it. It was fucking evil. I just knew it. Brian finally looks down at me again. That night and almost every other night after, I'd wake up and couldn't move, and aliens would be around my bed. And there was this one alien and I knew was my ma. She didn't look like my ma, she looked like an alien, but I just knew it was her, and she'd do these things to me, sometimes my mouth and my eyes and my nose, but usually to my dick, torture me, and it felt fucking real. Brian chuckles, still staring at me. Fucked me up good, and I blame my boyfriend for it, for bringing me to Echo, because I was sure that's where the evil came from. I outed him that year, and he had to leave town 'cause of it. The massive bear shakes his head. Didn't stop the dreams, though. Brian puts the truck in park, then shuts off the engine. We sit there in the darkness and silence, and even though I just emptied my bladder, I feel like I'm gonna piss myself again. Never told anyone that before. I didn't say anything as I just breathed through my mouth, trying to make as little sound as possible. There's something fucked up in this town that makes us see things, feel things from our past as some shit. Duke told me about it, how it's been happening a long fucking time, but he thinks there's a way to fix it. Brian suddenly opens the door and jumps out. He slams the door hard enough to make my ears pop. For about 5 seconds I will myself to move, to run, to open his door and sprint into the night. But my body refuses to move, and before I know it, the bear is yanking open my door and grabbing me by the wrist. And if you help me out with this, we can be done with it for good. He pulls me out roughly. Oh, Jesus. My legs are like rubber when he sets me on the ground, but he holds me up easily with his paws on my arms. And you promise me to help, then I'll let you go and we'll be free of the evil, okay? All I can do is nod dumbly. Alright, it's gonna be easy, Otter, I promise. Brian transfers his iron-like grip onto my wrist and starts to pull me along. I stumble after him weakly, trying not to trip in the darkness. Brian stops next to the truck bed and starts to rummage around inside. I feel like I'm gonna pee again. What do you need me to do, though? Brian finally pulls something out and looks shiny and heavy. I open my mouth to scream, and that's when a burst of light comes out of one of the ends of it. It's a mag light? The fuck is a mag light? I stare at it, gaping stupidly. Brian sweeps the beam of light around. What the fuck is a mag light? Is it a flashlight? I don't know. All around us is gravel, sagebrush, and some cacti. I have no idea where we are. I need to get something, and it's in a place that's too small for me to squeeze into. I need your help to get it, okay? Okay, but what is it? Brian ignores me, looking around. He seems to settle on a direction and sets off, pulling me along with him. Anyway, it makes me think all these ghosts and UFOs and monsters people see in the woods, I think they're all connected somehow. Yeah? I focus on trying to keep the bear happy, pretending to be interested in his ramblings. Meanwhile, we're not even on a trail, just pushing through thick brush and sharp rocks. Yeah, like little bits of echo are everywhere in the world. Some small like a house, some huge like a town. That makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. But I have to focus on getting away from the bear. I know I should have made a run for it back in the car, but there's no helping that now. We walk for maybe about 100 yards. As we do, the land starts to incline and become steep. Brian even slips up a few times, but I'm worried he's going to fall on top of me. Each time he manages to catch himself, then yank me up after him. After a few minutes of huffing and puffing, we reach a bit of an outcrop with some large boulders. Brian lets go of me and clambers up one side. Before I can even think of running, he's turned around and grabbed me by the scruff. I squeak as I'm lifted into the air, feeling like a pup again before I'm set down beside the bear. Brian looks around, keeping a hold of my wrist as he does. After some stomping and looking around with his flashlight, he seems to find what he's looking for. He brings us to the edge of a boulder, and he lifts me up again, this time by the wrist. I kick around for a moment, before he lowers me slowly into a dark, spacious hole. I start to wonder if it's going to go down. I'm starting to wonder if it's going to go down for a while, and I panic before my feet touch down on soft, cold dirt. Musty, cold air wafts from the black space in front of me. Immediately, Brian drops down next to me, snatching up my paw again. He shines the light into the dark patch in front of me, and I see what looks like a narrow tunnel burrowing into the side of the incline we're on. What is that? Brian grunts and starts to pull me into the opening, but I pull back. Brian yanks me hard, and I feel like he almost dislocates my shoulder. I yelp loudly. Shut up! Brian hisses at me as he turns sideways to better fit into the tunnel. It's the mine, you idiot! What? I look back at the opening, back towards Echo, gently illuminated by moonlight. I thought it was sealed. It is. This is a back entrance. Duke told me about it years ago. Said his family's known about it for decades. We pushed through for a while until we come to another tunnel. This one twice as wide as the one we were just in. Jesus. It branches to the left and to the right. Brian stands there for a moment, inhaling deeply as he looks around. Hang on, it's been a while. Can't help myself from blurting out, You don't know where to go? I expect him to hit me or something, but he ignores me. Finally, he pulls me to the left. The idea of being trapped here with Brian, lost in a mine, is more terrifying than anything that's happened in this town so far. They are so musty and dry, I feel like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but I try to hold it in so I don't upset Brian. We walk for another 10 minutes or so, taking a few more turns. I try to memorize the route in case I'm able to break free, but after 5 or so branches I realize I can't remember the second or third. Brian suddenly speaks up, nearly making me jump in the darkness. After a while, I stop seeing aliens. His grip is tight, and I can feel that the circulation to my paw is cut off. It's like I'm just a mass of pins and needles at this point. It's just a mass of pins and needles. Now I just see people. What kind of people? People you know? I try to keep Brian talking while I think. At some point, he's going to have to let go of me again, and that's when I'm going to have to make a run for it, no matter what. Kozu probably saw which direction we drove off in, and he probably went to Leo to get the car. But at this point, I doubt they're going to be able to find us, at least not in time. We went out into the mountains, probably through some back road that none of us even knew existed. Then Brian took me through hundreds of yards of desert to find a tiny opening behind some boulders. There's no way he's going to find me here. I'm on my own. Well, I just see one person, but the person changes every now and then. Brian pauses, looking into a narrow opening in the tunnel wall, even more narrow than the first passage, depending on who it was that I last knew. Before I can figure out what he meant by that, I'm shoved hard, forced to enter the passage in front of Brian. It's just wide enough that I can walk straight, my shoulders nearly touching both sides. Brian, on the other hand, has to suck in and move sideways, grunting and cursing and making all kinds of noises. Brian's let go of me as he tries to pull himself through, though he keeps knocking into me to send me forward. I could try to escape, but I have the feeling that that doesn't exist ahead of me. In fact, it feels like I'm being trapped. I can't explain it, but I start to get a terrible feeling that something awful is waiting for me at the end of this passage. And then I start to smell something. It's old. It's almost covered up by the dust and the mustiness, but it's definitely there. Sweet and sick. Something rotting. Feels like ice water is poured down my back and I freeze, only to be given a shove by the bear behind me. I fall forward into a wider opening. The smell entombs me, and I know without looking that I'm surrounded by death.
Careful, buddy.
To be continued. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. Alright, so Corinth Stipend just mentioned in the chat that the scene in Kudzu's trailer before Chase is kidnapped by Brian was expanded on quite a bit. They're not sure if it'd be worth going back and checking on that, but they said without looking at that, this update might seem kind of thin. So with that in mind, I don't feel like going back to that, because, I mean, if I had known about that first, maybe, but at this point, that's the problem with playing a game that's in progress. If they go back and change shit, are you going to go back into the beginning and every time, or what? So, as far as this update is concerned, for Leo's route, this is going to be it. I have we're also going to be going over Flynn's update, and I personally feel like this is going to be the room where it happens. But it's also going to be the room where the bodies were found in the mine. So, Jesus. So we're going to save here, and on the next episode, we're going to check on Flynn's route. Thank you all very much for watching this update of Echo, and on the next one we'll be doing some Flynn stuff, whatever the fuck got updated there. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I have been the Trained On Professional, speaking for the voices in my head when I say, fare thee well. Bye, everyone! Holy shit balls!